Star Wars 7x7, episode 2752. So this is another What to Watch Now segment, as we tend to do on Saturdays, and I actually sort of discovered or rediscovered what seems to be a surprising fact. For all the Star Wars stuff that I watch and consume, I never saw any of the spoof Star Wars adaptations, in particular the ones by Robot Chicken and by Family Guy. And so I thought, well, no time like the present. And I gotta say, I've been hoping to laugh a little more in 2022, so I thought, let's give the Family Guy version a try. And so we're gonna talk briefly about A New Hope as seen through the lens of Family Guy. Punch it. Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod, and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy. And thank you so much for joining me for it. So I have to say that I haven't been the biggest fan of Family Guy over the years, not because of any particular issues with it or anything like that. Just kind of like, yeah, they've had moments that I've had, people share little clips with me that I thought were funny and whatnot, but, I maybe watched part of the first season and kind of gave up on it, essentially, for all intents and purposes, and maybe that's why the times where they did Star Wars spoofs just never really particularly registered with me, or I never felt like, oh yeah, I should check that out. But hey, here we are checking out the version of A New Hope from Family Guy, which is entitled Blue Harvest. Funnily enough, because Blue Harvest is actually the working title for Return of the Jedi when it was being filmed. So yeah, that doesn't quite work, does it? And the funny thing of it is that I know that the humor is probably more on the adult side, comparatively speaking, but really, let's be honest, this show, for all intents and purposes, targets the same exact audience that George Lucas had in mind for Star Wars, right? Like the young teenage audience, as in young on the young side of teenage. That was who he was primarily focused on in telling the story of the original Star Wars, and that's pretty much where Family Guy is aiming for. But I will say that there are some particular kinds of humor that you can break down into categories for the episode. First of all, there's this stuff that's very meta, taking place entirely outside of the movie with its references. For example, and I know this one has been out there, I've seen it in little commercials and whatnot, where Peter Griffin playing Han Solo in the cantina says, "Hi, I'm Han Solo, and the only actor whose career wasn't entirely destroyed by this movie." And then there's these sort of plot hole kind of things, or plot logic kind of things, where they're flying to the Death Star / Alderaan on the Millennium Falcon, and Luke Skywalker, Chris, who's Peter's son in the show, says, you don't believe in the Force, and Peter, as Han Solo, says, what, oh, this thing you just found out about 3 hours ago? Yeah, right. And then there's the stuff that's just plain absurd in the moment, like when the gunners on the Devastator are like, hold your fire, it's just an escape pod, there's no life forms on it, and somebody else is like, what, are we paying by the laser now? Or when the rebels are on the ship and they're taking up positions, pointing their blasters at the door, and one guy's like, why are we pointing our blasters at this door? What if they come in somewhere else? And there's another conversation about Death Star safety standards, which is fabulous too. And watching it actually made me think about how I've looked at Family Guy over the years, just in general, that, yeah, it might get a smile from me here and there, and, might get a laugh with something particularly funny. I will say that Han and Chewie, or Peter and the dog Brian, trying to take a couch out of the trash compactor, that one, I guess it probably says more about me than than it does about the Family Guy episode, but the whole thing about bringing the couch out of there is the thing that really got me out of everything in this episode. There is also, as I gather is the case with Family Guy, some saltier situations and racier language and that sort of thing. In fact, actually, I think the version I watched must have been an uncensored version, or not the version that was originally broadcast on TV in September of 2007, because they dropped the F-bomb and it's not bleeped out, and there are a couple of other swears that I'm pretty sure would not have been on broadcast television back then. Heck, I'm pretty sure they're not on broadcast television now. Certainly wouldn't have been in a Star Wars movie. And that's all, well and good and whatever. There are a couple of characters in Family Guy, though, that I've just never been comfortable with. One of them being the neighbor Quagmire, and the other character, this old man named Herbert, who let's just say that he demonstrates an uncomfortable interest in young men, and leave it at that. And those characters, you play characters in Star Wars. Quagmire takes on the C-3PO role, and this Herbert guy takes on the Obi-Wan Kenobi role. And I really do wish that those two characters had not been involved in this, because they definitely did not, for me at least, enhance the experience of watching it, and certainly didn't enhance the humor of their characters for me as a result. But overall, I'm really glad that I finally sat down and watched it for the first time. The whole cantina scene is actually really great, and the Battle of Yavin, when all the wings are reporting in, the various Reds reporting in, that's good fun too. Oh, and one other fun random fact about this, just a crazy coincidence, but in looking at the list of the voice actors for the show, one of the voices is Phil Lamar, who we were just talking about earlier this week, because he is the voice of the Pike leader in the flashback sequences in the Book of Boba Fett. So what are the chances? And so there you go. That's what I've got for you on the What to Watch Now episode for this Saturday. And oh, for what it's worth, I found it on Hulu. So we have a Hulu subscription. So that was where I was able to watch the episode. In case you decide, hey, I'm going to check this out, where do I go find the episode? So yeah, look for it on Hulu. There you go. And that's going to do it for today's episode of the show. It just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for it, as always. And may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2021 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.